So thank you all for coming out today. Our topic is about called to be an excellent leader. So I'm excited to share a little bit about my experience and how I might be able to give you some nuggets to help you in your leadership walk. In April of 2004, I actually became or was awarded Macy's West Manager of the Year for the whole West Coast. So there's Macy's East and there's Macy's West. I tell you this for a purpose and just to kind of put it in context. So the number one cosmetic department and fragrance department was the flagship store in San Francisco. Number two is South Coast Plaza in Orange County, and little old Fresno was number three. So that was huge. So I'm very thankful for being able to run such a great team during that time. So in April, I was awarded that big jumbo screen, got to dress Star Academy, big dinner with the CEOs, all of that. And then October of the same year, I was actually fired. So all of this was to tell you for a purpose. So I had really climbed the ladder, had great success. And while God, I've always believed in Christ. God has always been part of my life. I was not a follower of Christ. And I believe it's very different to be a believer and to be a follower. It's not the same. The walk looks different. And I think God was trying to get a hold of me. I was attributing much of my success to myself without giving honor where it was due. I was getting a little haughty, if you want, and God had greater purpose for me. God had greater calling in my life. So he allowed some of these circumstances to catch my attention. But it was about in 2006 where God really got a hold of me, where I became the follower of Christ instead of just the believer. Through circumstances, again, that's a whole other testimony itself. Through circumstances, God began to call me to evaluate my life, where I was going. And I decided to relinquish my leadership position. I decided to decrease so that he could increase. I decided to put him first, put myself second. I decided that to better serve the people around me, I needed to get better equipped to do that. I did not take lightly as I began to discover that the things that were in me, the goals and the accomplishments, as I talked about, as I looked back on my life, the things that I was able to do were not because of Rosa was so great, because of the great God that was in Rosa. So I'm actually going to give you some tools. But first I wanted to make sure that even though you don't have a title, all of you have leadership qualities in you when God the leader is the one who is moving you. There's managing, there's coaching, there's leading, and they're different. They are different. And the best leaders have a mix of the three, a good blend of the three. Okay, very important key. You manage the business, but you lead the people. Different. You manage the business, but you lead the people. So managers are problem solvers. They're organizers. They're analytic. They're persistent. They're mediators. They're goal-oriented, and they're result-driven. Okay? They look at the business as a machine and keeps all the parts in working order. However, a great manager understands that the most important part of the machine is the people. Let's talk about how to coach them to win. All right. So coaching can also be called training. Okay? So the big thing that's important is that you have to inspect what you expect. Inspect what you expect. You got to watch over the expectations. You've asked them to do something. You got to follow up. Otherwise, it feels like, why am I doing this? They don't even care. Okay? So you want to be able to create a comfortable environment for learning. Are people afraid or embarrassed of making a mistake or asking a question? Or do they feel comfortable? You want to run the plays. Those people that are in sports understand this. Run the plays. You want to do some role playing before you actually set them out in a live situation to figure it out. That can be very dangerous sometimes. So role playing is great. You want to have some oversight and some observation of what that looks like, some immediate coaching. And you want to try to eliminate the you versus them environment. You want to create or treat them as peers and show appreciation for their involvement and participation. When people participate, even though it might be the wrong thing, thank them for participating. There's nothing more difficult than trying to get people to participate and then they don't, but then someone does, you got to be thankful for that. Because otherwise it's like you're just speaking to an audience and no one's following. Allow room for creativity. You got to make it fun, interactive. Something that they look forward to coming to, that they're actually going to get something out of the training, that it's worth their time. Okay, and be consistent. Be consistent in your training. Be consistent in your expectations. Be consistent in your praise. Consistency will get someone further than most anything. If you just have the stay-to-it attitude about something, you will get further than the person who is full of gifts and talents, quite honestly. So stick-to-itiveness is important. Now we're getting to leader. We talked about a manager. We talked about a coach. Now leading. A leader is a good listener. Allows other people to speak and is willing to hear them out. Don't be a know-it-all. You must, though, be aware of whiners and complainers. Okay? Learn to be able to steer the conversation into a positive direction while still addressing their concerns. You got to be available to your people. Don't sit in your ivory tower. Make time for them. Keep your commitments. Put them on your calendar. I say put it on your calendar because you cannot rely on your memory. You have too much that you're juggling. Whether you are a leader or not, you have a lot of things that you are juggling in life. Take time to know their motivations, their dreams. Is it money? Is it competition? Is it excellence? They might not be in competition with anybody that just want to do an excellent job. Or is it a cause? They want to get behind what you're doing. It's different for different people. And you've got to know that because you've got to lead them according to their motivation, their uniqueness. Remember, we talked about you are all a masterpiece and different things motivate you. You got to find that out. You have to be organized. Organization and structure gives people a safe place to grow. A good leader is organized in their thoughts, in their communication, with their agendas, with their visions, and quite honestly, with themselves. A good leader evaluates performance and appreciates others' work, So you got to review the team's accomplishments. Give praise where praise is due. And you want to also ask them how they think they're doing. 9 times out of 10, if you've created a place that feels safe, they're going to tell you that they believe that they are performing subpar and that they need help. You don't have to point it out. They'll let you know. So you just ask the question. You want to make sure that you address issues. You don't let them get out of control. Those cancerous things that start to fester and destroy the work environment of what you've been working so hard to build. So you want to inspire people, when you're a good leader, you inspire people to follow you. Because you're a good listener, because you're available to your team, because you're organized, you're consistent, and you address issues, people are going to naturally follow you. So I want you to remember, you want to think big. Possibilities. You've got to be the visionary and the dream for the people. You've got to be able to see in them what they don't see in themselves. Think big for your people, not for yourself, for your people. Think big and pay attention to the small details. manage the business, lead the people.